All right, guys.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Market Mondays.
That's what's in town.
Hey. It's been a long time.
Shouldn't have left you.
Yeah, without a dope beat to step to.
There's not.
So we got the band back together. All of the guys in the lab. This is going to be a legendary episode. Legendary week. We got a few things planned this week that we cannot announce, but you will be seeing very soon.
We've been debating on it.
Yeah. It's
sign that paperwork.
It's
so we can break the end of that.
But just know history is about to be made again.
Yes.
You know, it's scrambling around at the last minute, but
yeah,
it's all done.
4 quarters for the scramblers, right?
Apparently.
We know that.
Yeah, clearly.
Apparently. So we have a very special guest today, David Rubenstein, billionaire venture private equity firm, owner of the Carlyle Group private equity firm. He also is an author. He has a new book that's out, and he has a show as well on Bloomberg. So, and he actually interviewed somebody that was very interesting recently. So,
to say the least.
Yeah. So this is going to be a very high level conversation. Very interesting conversation. Very, whenever we get a chance to talk to the billionaires, is always something that's beneficial for the listeners. So, this is, I think, our third one, I think.
Yeah,
I think
we had Novograd.
We did Novograd.
Yeah.
Cuban.
Mark
Cuban. Yeah.
So this is the third one.
Yeah.
Third time's a charm.
400 billion in assets managed. 400.
That's insane.
Different.
Yeah. So that's a dope conversation. But even before that, we got a lot to talk about because obviously it's a lot going on. It's been a lot going on since the last time that we had Market Monday. So I won't waste too much time. A couple brief announcements. This week, big episode. Shout out to our guy Jamal Bowman, who is congratulations. He's our congressman from our Congress district.
He won?
He won. Yeah.
Congrats. Oh, that's dope.
That's dope. It's like a landslide. He won like 60-30. So he's dope conversation about politics, about super PAC, a lot of stuff I was talking about last week, the political process, how it works, the inner workings of Congress, House representatives, and who's really controlling what in the government. Very educational episode.
Very smart guy.
Yeah, good dude.
Yeah.
So that's tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Check that out. And the moment is here. Market Mondays.
Hey.
Market Mondays live. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
2 weeks away. November 27th.
Yes.
Just understand what's going on here. November 27th at Madison Square Garden. We have Peter Tuchman. We have Mouse Jones. We have Don Peeble, DJ Sus, one on the 1 and 2s. My guy, Jada Kiss.
Hey.
This is the spot of his legendary performance versus Dipset, the versus battle.
Yes.
When he was crowned King of New York.
Yep.
His jersey went up in the Raptors that night.
Yes.
It inspired me for the first Invest Fest. I want to watch that thing 9 times. I have to get my presentation ready. So
Kiss will be in the building. Outside of that, a long list of things that Ian will be providing to anybody that comes.
25 stocks to invest in, the 50 ones to stay away from, the 3 cryptos I like, the 1 underdog crypto that I like, the 15 others you should stay away from outside of FTT and FTX. And the blueprint for how to make 10 grand to 20 grand in a day trading. So get your tickets. And as champ, sign your paperwork. We got a little surprise, hopefully. But
a couple surprises. I mean, it's New York. It's our hometown.
Yes.
Why would we not bring out all the stops? And so that's what we're going to do. In the words of my brother, Mouse Jones, a night will be had.
Hey.
Shout out to Mouse.
A night will be had.
That trap karaoke going to be a vibe, man.
A night will be had.
We got a bunch of surprises and a few surprises that we're working on. And let's just say that, it'll probably sell out as soon as the surprises are out. So you still have tickets available to you. $75, as low as $75. Don't play yourself.
Which is crazy.
New York City. It's a vibe.
Yes.
Madison Square Garden. You're going to get so much education and you're going to get the bonus just for coming, but you have to be in the building to get all those bonuses.
And you get a sniper for a year. We should do 3 months of stock club too.
3 months of stock club?
How you feeling today?
That's a recession.
Announcement.
3 months of stock
3
club.
months of stock club. Everybody that comes will get 3 months of stock club.
The anti-Sam Bankman-Friedman deal.
Oh man.
What else do you want, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Go to the link in the description of this video. Go to earnyourleisure.com. Click the Market Mondays tab. Get your tickets before they sell out. We will see you on November 27th at 7 o'clock at Madison Square Garden.
Should we tell them what to tune in tomorrow or no?
Let's wait.
Up in there? Yeah, you never know.
You know, some
Shout out to the people.
yes.
that
Some
go?
things are like that.
Know how that go.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's it. Any announcements?
Stock Club call will be tomorrow at 9:30. Get your tickets for Market Mondays live because next year prices will be going up dramatically.
It's not the same.
Nope. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. And if I've never had a token drop 93%, please put yes in chat.
94.
94. What is a crystal ball worth? If I went to the Bahamas with $3 billion, like would Interpol be looking for me?
That's tough. That's tough.
See?
That's tough. Folks, we want to let you know about a great choice if you're looking to bank or invest. Ally is a leading digital financial service company with passionate customer service, innovative financial solutions, and our relentlessly focus on doing it right for both customers and our communities. Get with Ally so you can save, invest, and spend on the things that matter most to you. For everything we need, we're all better off with it. Ally, shout out to Ally, shout out to the flyer that went out, the Art Basel.
Yes.
Yeah, December 3rd, we will be in Miami for that. Shout out
Talk about that later on.
Yeah, shout out to them, shout out to UM. And you know how this works, man. Do your own research. This is a disclaimer. All right. Our content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with or independently research and verify any information that you find on our show and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. This is a message brought to you by the good brothers at Earn Your Leisure and the good brother Ian Dunlap, the master investor himself. Please do your own research. Please, when it's great, you can share the research with others, and that's how we build community. Share the information when it's great. When it's not, go back and research and as to why it's not.
Hey, let's go.
So let's get into this right off the rip. Before we bring our guest on, let's talk about what everybody wants to talk about. FTX.
Wow.
The debacle that happened. I'm just pulling out my notes on this. So Sam Bankman-Fried was labeled the golden child of crypto. Young man who was the CEO or is the CEO of that exchange. There's a crypto exchange.
He stepped down, didn't he?
Oh, he's no longer the CEO?
I mean, I think if you get on the plane and go to Argentina, you kind of quit.
Okay. All right. Well, in any event.
Former CEO.
Yeah. A crypto exchange called FTX. I think they had the Miami Arena.
Yeah. You formerly American Airlines, now FTX, but they stripped it. The deal was like 10 years for 145 million or something like that. But that's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
So this is all right. So this is an interesting story, just like a quick overview of what happened. So massive amounts of withdrawal requests came in after a report was published that FTX owned a suspicious amount of FTT. FTT is FTX is native currency. It's like Binance coin would be for Binance. So I guess a report was published, and it was a suspicious amount of coins that were being held by FTX. As a result of that, Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency brokerage, announced that they would be selling their FTT tokens.
Shout out CZ.
Due to recent revelations. That caused a firestorm on sales of FTT tokens from the market because people were scared. They thought that it might fall apart, and they didn't have enough liquidity to cover all of the people, all of the amount of money that was going to be taken out,
which
caused the coin to collapse in a day, which caused the exchange to collapse in a day, which caused Mr. Freeman to lose a 16 million, I believe.
Billion.
16 billion. 16 billion.
With a billion.
In a day.
Yeah.
And then Binance, it was reported that they was going to come bail them out. Then they decided that they wasn't going to bail them out. So this has caused a black cloud over the crypto space. All cryptos were down. And there was even something today that I had read about crypto.com mistakenly sending $400 million in crypto to a wrong exchange by accident. And, it's just a lot of bad press, fear, speculation that, a lot of these places are insolvent, that they're not, their books aren't clean, and they don't have enough assets, and it's caused a real firestorm
ripple effect
in the crypto space. So all right, that was my quick synopsis. So let's get into this. What's the thoughts on this situation?
Initially when I heard this, I intended to come in and go crazy, loaded Lux, but now isn't the time for me to focus on me or be egotistical. And the first thing I want to start off with, something we talked about, and it's a lesson that stuck with me that you shared about a particular person who had a comment for someone and they came for him.
Mm-hmm.
Sam ended up getting into it with CZ of Binance, and he was the one who exposed they essentially had been running a Ponzi. Now, the interesting thing,
who was running the Ponzi?
FTX.
FTX.
Okay.
So when the interesting thing, they put out a letter of intent to buy the company. They released part of the financials, and 24 hours later say, hey, we don't want anything to do with the company, as a way to expose.
That's the part.
So a letter of intent.
That part.
When you send a letter of intent with no money, no guarantees, or when you're going to wire money, you're exposing all of your financials. That is a huge mistake.
All right. Oh, man.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
There's so much to unpack, right? Just in that,
just
right?
in that alone.
Just in that, right? I think one of the biggest things is like know who your rivals are.
Yes.
Understand
and be careful who you offend.
Be careful who you offend. Yes. Understand who your rivals are. Understand who your competition is in the space. The fact that Binance was even thinking about doing it felt on the surface like, wait, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Right. And as soon as that happened, I put it in the chat. I said, yo, they're going to back out this deal.
Yes.
But what they did was they made them show their hand. And when you show your hand, right, like, because that's one of the things in the crypto space is like, they don't have to show their books
at all.
Who is the governing body that says, yes, you need to show the books? There isn't one.
No, especially if you live in the Bahamas.
Especially, right?
Yeah.
So when you have to open up the books and the competitors now see it and they say, oh, wait, we're not doing this. And they pull the rug out. Now it feels like, wait, this was done super intentionally. Even in his tweets, if you look at Sam's tweets, I think he kind of felt it after. He probably like, wait, I just got played.
Yeah.
And it was sad to see. Like, it sounds crazy, but like somebody is worth $15 billion on a Friday. Just think about that. And by Tuesday, they're down to 400,000 in net worth.
No, 400
million.
It was 800 million. 800 million.
No, hold on. And then when they saw the books, they realized that the debt was 650 million. So he had negative net worth after the week was over.
The company.
No. The company, not the company.
He's personally worth $800 million right now.
Presently. Okay.
Currently. So let's keep it on perspective.
I mean, honest,
or maybe he's not.
Well, we can only go by what the reports are saying.
Yeah.
New York Times reported that he lost 94% of his wealth, which would still put him at $800 million. So
for how long though? Hypothetically. And now the other side of it, the strategy that he was running to do the Bitcoin arbitrage and buy it in a country and then move it here was really smart. He was setting up himself to be the Warren Buffett of crypto, and he was trying to build companies out. But when you see some of the other things, like, I mean, okay, I have to say anything that is too good to be true usually is. No one can guarantee any kind of return legally. So to say, hey, I'm gonna get you 8% return a year or a month in itself is not legal. Secondly, when you have a company that is based in the Bahamas with no or little regulation, that is normally not a good sign. Number three, any person, product, entity, corporation, token, or coin that is advertised to be the savior of anything usually is a demon in disguise. And we've come across a couple, right? So even with me, like, I can't guarantee, knowing what all the information that I know, I'll never guarantee a return because I don't want to put myself in a legal bind there. And also going back to the trading part. So when you have a hedge fund and you're market making and you're watching your trades with leverage, you can manipulate the price of what that token is going to be, which is a huge mistake for him to even do because everyone in the space knows that that is illegal. But the bigger issue that we have to get to is the angel investors and venture capital companies that pushed for crypto and Web3 to be this enormous space because they needed another win. And it's a very nuanced conversation that we can probably spend 2 or 3 weeks talking about, but the venture community has to start doing its own due diligence. So to see Sequoia put a bunch of money in and a bunch of other firms, I know at some point they had to say, well, this person's in this deal, I'm going to pile in because they are as well. And not to even mention, if they invested in the company, got equity there, and got tokens, you got paid twice. So we have to be very careful. And I know everybody in crypto, I know you thought this Monday I was going to come out and be like, I told you so. It's not the time for that. But anything that is too good to be true usually is. The bigger issue that we have to really face is what are we going to do about the American economy? Because the desire for these high gains with no work is usually representative of the job market is not good. Amazon is laying off 10,000 people after Meta just laid off 11,000.
That's a lot.
Things are getting scary.
What does it say for crypto though, right? Because I mean, there's a couple of things we can say. Obviously, we'll see the effect that it's had on Bitcoin. Obviously, it went under about 16,000. But is this now the moment? It feels like it could be, maybe it's not. That all right, enough is enough. Regulation is on the way.
Has to. I mean, honestly, if we think about it, and I won't even get into the political part of how much he donated to the Democratic side. So, and I would argue, if he was a Republican, they would be running news 24 hours about how this was a Ponzi for the Republican Party. I'm neither Democratic nor Republican. But I just think it's interesting that when there were all these red flags there, no one said anything because he was a Democratic favorite. What does it say for crypto? Regulation is going to come. And I truly believe a lot of these people will put in place by banks and hedge funds to help destroy crypto so they can then take it up. Like, we have to be honest, this is a game of strategy and a game of war. This is no different than a penny stock era. This is no different than the Forex market. This is no different than the crypto market of 2016. We saw this happen before.
Yeah.
With several companies that went out of business and then more regulation came in and the banks got more involved. We'll see the same thing again.
Yeah, even from the side of, like I said, knowing who your rivals are. If you think about Binance, right, asking to see the papers and obviously backing out on the deal once they saw that, you know, the company wasn't making money. You get under one exchange, right? FTX is now gone. And just think about how widely popular they were. Just really quick to give you context. They have 4 Super Bowl commercials. Which is also a sign that, like, honestly, any product is really good. You don't have to advertise like crazy. They dominated the Super Bowl. They had Tom Brady, they had Steph Curry, they had all, I mean, just the publicity around it was big. So you take that one out, and now you hear crypto.com is in trouble. And so what does that do?
Crypto.com is not in trouble.
Well, the negative news. I shouldn't say trouble. We'll say that.
I mean, but can we be honest? If we went to any of our moms or aunties and said, hey, this is what this token does, 99% of the time, our aunties or moms or dads are going to be like, that sounds like a scam.
Right away.
So even all the decentralization talk. Okay, great. If crypto was supposed to be decentralized, why do you have a hedge fund that was marketing one thing, but the firm was doing another while bailing out? And then also where he really got into trouble was using the customer funds. And it goes back to trading. Those 300 practice trades are key. Risk mitigation is key. And we've all done it. We've all been in the trade and been like, I should only let this trade bleed down 20%. And it goes 35%. And it's like, oh, let me put more capital in. And I think that he thought he was never going to get caught. He was going to be able to bail out some other companies and he was going to be able to work his way out of it. This is a historical lesson on risk management. And same with Madoff. When you get away with it the first time, if you ever seen Madoff's story, Madoff, I think his initial lie was less than $1,000 to a client. But the first time he got away with it, he never stopped. So, as you would say, I say that to say, risk management is everything. And we've all overtraded. We've all overcapitalized certain trades. I hate that this happened. I hate, you know, this has been exposed, but I've been telling everyone, if anything is too good to be true, it usually is. And if you want gains in the market, you have to work your ass off to be able to get them. They're not going to come easy from anybody.
So that's the kind of the point I was getting to, was like, are you, obviously as a competitor, if I'm Binance, this strengthens my position.
Yes.
Right. Like if FTX, I'm just the negative news around crypto.com, it becomes obvious who the, I mean, they're the largest exchange now. It just strengthens their position. Not only as an exchange, but even the coin itself. I'd be interested to see.
And then now he's saying, okay, now I'm gonna help bail out other funds if they get in trouble. So now he gets to be a savior, and we have to also keep our eye out for Tether. Tether's on the ropes. And where's Tether based out of?
Stable coin.
Not really stable.
Quite don't.
If our dollar isn't stable, how is something pegged to it stable? To tech to index in Australia. I know people hate hearing the same thing over and over again. Please put it in chat. Safety over sensationalism. Even a whole DeFi, you're not going to get 19% return a month. Like, I don't hear Charlemagne or Steve Harvey or like Ellen being like, I found a crypto that's going to get, because 50 would put all of his money from Stars and Power into that thing if it actually worked. Like, we have to be careful when we're being marketed to. We're always used for liquidity. Be careful.
Interesting time in crypto.
So, all right. So what does this mean to the average person? Should they not invest in crypto? Should they, what about exchange? I mean, we talked about before, you shouldn't really have your money on an exchange if you,
Yep.
or shouldn't have your coins on an exchange. I
Yeah.
should say. So what does this mean for the average person that is a crypto novice and just hearing about this?
You need to invest in the top two, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I still don't love Ethereum, but if I had to pick two, those would be the two. I do need to issue apology to Coinbase though. I still think that Coinbase is going to have some troubles, but when we're in Miami, I said they could probably go out of business. And the way that Brian has run that organization is nowhere near close to what Sam did. So I have to say that I was wrong in casting that aspersion on him. I still think that they're in trouble, but not in the same light. I want to be clear, like Coinbase is not anything close to FTX. But Bitcoin, Ethereum are the top two. But now this is going to lead to a lot more regulation, and the CFTC is going to get involved. NFA is going to get involved. The SEC is going to get involved. They're going to start calling a lot of these securities, and it's going to lead to a lot of trouble. A lot of these coins are going to get flagged, and 99% of them are going to be marked as worthless.
Yeah, it'll be flagged. Open your books, show us the books, and once those books get open,
Game, set, match.
So what about okay. Anything else you want to say about this?
No, I think obviously our stance has always been the same, right? Like, we don't believe that the space is going to be going. We obviously know the top two coins.
Mm-hmm.
Risk management is key here.
What this is set up from Binance, because it looks like, okay, so a report comes out and was published. Who knows where that report was given to the...
Oh, we know where it came from.
Then Binance publicly announced that they're selling their coins, which that was the whole thing that caused everything. It was a domino effect. So once that
many withdrawals too fast.
Yeah,
but Binance was the reason
they caused a run on the bank.
And so, do you think that this all
ties in
somehow? I don't want to, say
I'll say, listen, be very key in who you choose to go to war with, because they may end up being the assassin that puts you out of business. Like Chamal said it this weekend. He said when Sam was trying to get them to invest in his business, they sent a 2-pager of recommendations of what to fix. They called him back and literally said, fuck off.
Who said fuck off?
Sam.
Told
Chamal Polyhapatia, who was like one of the best.
I never get his last name correct.
Yeah, I do my little research. So to say that, and so imagine what's said privately. So and Sam has some words for CZ at Binance. So if someone comes up to you and say, man, Rashad, F you and EYL, and then you say, okay, I'm gonna buy your company, send me your paperwork, update your paperwork, fam. They send it in and they're net negative while saying they're the real biggest. It may come out to Charlemagne that, hey, they're 15 million in the hole. We have to understand that business is war. I know people may play polite on social media, but business is war. Like, we all have known people that have risked their lives and been willing to do certain things for 5, 10, 15,000, 50,000. We're talking about billions of dollars here. So yes, the report was put out, but what they really did was expose the fraud that was there all along.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I said. I mean, that's why I preface it by saying, understand who your rivals are, understand who your competition is.
Yeah.
And I think he understood it, but it was too late. Right. Like, in his tweet, he didn't directly say it, and I'm talking about Sam. He didn't directly say it, but it kind of apprehensions it.
Why would you send your financials on a letter of intent?
Yeah.
And also, they had no board of directors, which is also a red flag. Like, people were buying equity into the company and were getting no board seats. People only do that when they don't want you to see the books. Like, it was a bunch of red flags. Like, once you start to look into the paper, and these stories that happen and we have to curtail our human desire to want high returns with no work. Because if we stop getting sold these pipe dreams, there won't be as much room for them. Do your research, do your own due diligence.
Will Sam have a return?
Hell no.
It's
It's over
done?
with. Wolf of Wall Street, crypto,
30 years old.
over with. Y'all clip this up immediately. Clip right now. It's over with. But and also in every scam, you need a fall person. They knew what Bernard was doing in his era. Some people were aware of what Sam was doing. You got to be very careful here. They need a fall guy.
Yeah.
And he'll be that.
Well, we will monitor the situation.
It's over with for Sam.
We will monitor the situation. All right. So here we are with the legendary David Rubenstein. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
If you're not familiar with David, he is the chair of the board of trustees of Duke University. He is the host of Bloomberg's peer-to-peer conversations.
Yes.
And he is the co-founder and co-chairman of private equity firm, the Carlyle Group, which is a global private equity investment firm. How much assets under management?
400 billion. If that number has changed, please correct me. But 400 billion managed under management right now, which is an
amazing.
Yes. So thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
And he's an author too. We'll talk about his book.
Yes, I'm looking forward to reading that book.
Yes.
Very important. So, all right. So let's get into it. I want to start off with, some education for the audience. Private equity. Can you explain what private equity is? I feel that people have a good understanding of venture capital because that's been in the news a lot and that's been very popular the last couple of years. But I think that the general public still doesn't have a good understanding, or they might not have ever even heard of private equity. So can you explain private equity, what you guys do?
Let me explain. In the United States, the phrase private equity means one thing. Outside the United States, it means another thing. In the United States, private equity more or less means all private investments. It could be venture capital, growth capital, distressed debt, anything where you're buying an asset that is something that's going to be held privately. It's not going to be public when you own it. And the theory behind private equity is that when you have something that's not in a public setting, you can make changes, you can improve it, you can incent people, you can pay them more, and ultimately you'll get a better return. So the theory behind private equity is that you buy an asset, you make it much better. When you sell it or you take it public, you're going to get a rate of return on your investment that's going to be, let's say, 20% per annum. So if you put your money in the bank, you're going to get maybe 1% a year. If you put your money in the stock market, maybe you get on average 6% a year. If you put your money in private equity, and it's a good private equity fund or deal, you might get 20% or 30% a year. Well, that's pretty good. So the theory is it's a better way to make add value to an organization, and you can get a good rate of return. So that's what it is. Basically, fixing up something in a private setting, making it better, and ultimately selling it after 3 to 5 years. That gets you a return of maybe 20% a year.
Thank you for being here. Huge fan of your show. Can you talk to us about the importance of being a contrarian in the face of conventional wisdom? And are there any sectors right now you think people should take a contrarian take on in this environment?
All right. The greatest investors in the world generally are contrarians. If you just went along with the average common sense view of what the average person thinks, you would be one of the pack and you wouldn't do anything that make you stand out. So contrarians take a view that's different than the average common sense wisdom. Today, for example, the common sense wisdom that the average investor would have is get out of the stock market, sell whatever you have. The economy's going to hell in a handbasket, and we're going to be in a recession. The smart investors would say, now's the time to come in, buy things at a discount, and eventually, and the recessions always end, and eventually in 3 or 4 years, you'll have bought something at 50 cents on a dollar, and in 2 or 3 years, it'll be worth $3, something like that. So that's when a contrarian goes against the conventional wisdom.
Well, our audience is filled with retail investors. We have some institutional investors, I'm sure, but a lot of retail investors. And obviously, they're learning the market, they're understanding it, they're investing in it. What are some habits that you've come across in your career that you've noticed that great and good investors have, right? So they can have an edge.
Well, people who are great investors, generally, this is their life. This is what they do full time. They don't kind of have a day job and then they're picking stocks at night and then they they do well. You have to do this full time. You have to be pretty smart, good with numbers. You have to have a willingness to read enormous amounts of material. You have to admit a mistake when you make it and get out of a bad deal, because everybody makes a mistake. I think it also takes some humility to be a great investor, because you realize you're going to make mistakes and you can't say, I'm so brilliant and the market's wrong, but I'm right and the market's wrong, and you start losing money. And those are things that make great investors. The average retail investor who buys stocks in the public market, they're probably not great investors. They haven't done this for a living. You have to do something for a living. And if you were going to a dentist, you wouldn't want a dentist who is spending full time picking stocks. You want a dentist who's going to actually know how to be a dentist. So an average dentist or doctor isn't doing this full time, and therefore they're probably not going to be that good at it. That's why for the average retail investor, the average person who's not a professional, they're probably best to go into index funds, which just mirror the market. Very modest fees, and the stock market goes up 13% a year, you're going to go up 13% a year. Trying to pick stocks and become Warren Buffett while you have a day job as a dentist or doctor is a fool's errand.
So let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on the handling of the economy by the Fed this year?
My thoughts on what? I'm sorry, can you speak up?
The Fed's handling of the economy.
Okay. I should disclose that I hired a young man to work for me years ago, and he was at our firm for a number of years, and he left. His name is Jay Powell. So now he's the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board. But he doesn't give me any insights. The Federal Reserve made a terrible mistake. They underestimated how serious the inflation was going to be. The United States government injected $5 trillion into our economy to deal with COVID. And you put $5 trillion into an economy that's roughly a $22 trillion economy, you're going to get inflation. So we got a lot of inflation. The Fed said for a while it's transitory, which means it'll be gone soon. They were wrong. So now they're going to increase interest rates a fair bit to get inflation down. Now, as you may have seen last week, inflation came down a little bit, still at 7.7%. The Fed wants to get inflation down to 2% per year. That's what we've had for the last 25 years, 2% a year. It wasn't a big factor. Getting it back to 2% is not easy. I know a lot about inflation because I worked in the Carter White House when we got inflation to 19%. Nobody's ever do that again, right? So inflation is,
please.
Right. So I would say the Fed is now serious about fighting inflation. They're going to keep increasing interest rates for a while, and I suspect in December they will have another meeting and they'll increase interest rates by another 75 basis points, or almost 1 full point. So I think the Fed has probably made a mistake in the beginning. Now they're trying to compensate for it. I think they're doing a reasonably good job now.
In light of the FTX scandal, looking back at the interview that you did with Sam, as an investor, is there anything in hindsight that made you say something about him or the strategy of the company didn't feel right?
Which about who?
FTX.
Oh, FTX. Yes. Sam Bankman-Fried. Well, it was the only interview I ever had where the guy showed up in a t-shirt, shorts, and tennis shoes. That's all he wore. And that was his normal dress. So it was a little unusual. Usually people dress a little bit better for the interviews. He's look, you meet a lot of people in this world who are brilliant young people. And when you're a brilliant young person and you haven't had a failure, you think you really are brilliant, and you walk on water. So he had never made a mistake, really. He built a business where at the age of 30, he's worth $22 billion. So when you were 30 years old, you guys look like you're maybe a little older than 30, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when you were 30 years old, if you were worth $22 billion, you would think you walk on water.
Absolutely.
He may have thought that. Yeah, I would say it appears that they made a terrible mistake, and whether it's criminal or not, I don't know. But they were taking customer accounts and putting them into other businesses that the customers didn't know about. So let's suppose you have an account at Merrill Lynch and you put $1,000 into it, and they told you later, well, guess what? We took that $1,000, we lent it to something else, and we'll give you your $1,000 back soon. Well, before they could give it back to you, it went bankrupt. So you're out your $1,000. That appears to be what they did. And therefore, there's a lot of challenges there. So he's a smart guy. I've met him on a couple occasions. I would say, you have to be wary of people who are 30 years old and think they walk on water, because it rarely happens.
Noted. So
now, there was one 33-year-old guy that did walk on water, but that was unusual.
I had to get off the boat so I can walk on water.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Obviously, one of the greatest investors of our time. Obviously, the Carlyle Group, like we said, 400 billion managed in assets. prior to even getting into finance, I know you studied law. So what was that transition like from you going into law to finance?
Well, let's be honest. If you're going to be good at something, you have to love it. And I didn't love to practice law, and my clients told me I wasn't that good at it. I went to law school to make my mother happy because she said you can either be a doctor or a lawyer. So I didn't want to go to medical school, so I went to law school. And I was really interested in politics, and so I was really interested in working in government. And I went to work for Jimmy Carter at the White House for 4 years when I was in my 20s. And we got inflation of 19%, and the result was we lost the election. So I had to go back and practice law. That's all I knew. But I wasn't that good at it. My clients reminded me of that. So I decided to do something different. And I started a firm in Washington in 1987 that grew to be one of the largest private equity firms in the world. So I got lucky. I surrounded myself with really smart people that knew more than I did. And the key to really building a great business is surrounding yourself with smarter people than you. So that's what happened. I built it. It's now one of the largest firms in the world in that area. But I was attracted to it because I thought, if I'm going to be not in government, and government doesn't want me because I didn't do a good job, and I'm going to be in the private sector, I might as well make the most amount of money I can make. And business people and private equity firms are making a lot more money than lawyers, and they ought to actually seem to be more enjoyable. So that's why I started it, and it worked.
So let me ask you this. You talked about inflation a few times. Last week, a report came out, and they said that they thought that inflation might have peaked, and that was good for the market.
Right.
Do you think that inflation has peaked?
Well, it's an interesting question. Last week, the numbers came out that said that inflation rate from month to month, year to year, was 7.7%. Now, if I told you inflation was going to be 7.7% annualized, you would run for the hills. But because it was previously over 8%, it was 8.6%, 7.7% looked wonderful. So yes, it may have peaked. I think it probably has. But remember, inflation was very high because we injected so much money in the economy. The war in Ukraine had a very high effect on energy prices and the food supply chain. So there are many things that produced this high inflation. I think it probably has peaked, but nobody really knows for certain. Now, I'd say if the war in Ukraine were to end in a couple months, that would be great for inflation. And if Ukraine could start producing and shipping wheat again, that would be great for inflation. But I'd say it's a little premature to say it's peaked because we need a couple months of data. Just 1 month isn't probably enough.
I'm looking forward to reading your book. Can you share with us what's one lesson you learned from maybe Jim Simmons, Ken Griffin, and maybe John Paulson around how they invest, and a very impactful lesson that will help our audience tonight?
Well, Ken Griffin is a guy that built one of the most successful hedge funds of all time. He's also got a separate company called Citadel Securities, and he's extremely wealthy. He basically believes in analyzing data very carefully. He surrounds himself with really, really smart people, and he tries very hard to get the best people in the country who are really good with numbers. He tries to steal people from Google, not steal, but recruit people from Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, get really smart people who know numbers, and they really analyze these things carefully. John Paulson made one bet. It was a bet that the mortgage market would collapse. And at the time, people didn't think it would be quite as bad as it turned out to be. So he made on one investment, $20 billion.
Yeah.
20 billion. So you don't have to do anything the rest of your life if you make $20 billion, right?
It's a good trade.
Sounds about right.
So I'd say it was the greatest trade of all time. And so he did pretty well. But basically, he analyzed the fact that mortgage market was probably over inflated, and he correctly bet on that.
Yeah, most people say no risk, no reward. Obviously, in your space, when you're managing people's money, that may not be true, or maybe it is. Can you talk about the importance of risk management when you're talking about private equity?
So I think what in private equity? I'm sorry.
Risk management, the importance of it.
Well, risk management is a way of managing your money where you're basically in effect hedging. You're trying not to get the highest rate of return, but you're trying to protect against the downside. Private equity is different than that. Private equity is basically saying we're going to fix a company, make it better. We're not trying to hedge against it. So it's different. I would say it depends on what somebody really wants out of life. If you're 75 years old and you're living on a retirement income and you don't have a lot of money coming in, you don't want to take a big risk. So you probably have a more a risk management kind of approach, which is to say you're protecting the downside. If you're 25 years old and you can take a lot of risk, because if you make the mistakes, you can go make money again. Probably private equity might be better for you because you're willing to take the upside and you don't need to protect the downside so much. It depends on your situation. How much money can you afford to lose? For example, cryptocurrencies, I always told people, don't put more in than you can afford to lose. And some people did.
People did. Oh, what's your economic outlook for 2023?
I would say for 2023, I suspect the United States will probably go into a recession. That's a very common view. And that's because if you go back to 1960, almost every time the Federal Reserve has increased interest rates dramatically, the result has been a so-called hard landing or a recession. So it's unlikely we're going to be able to avoid it this time, but it'll probably be very modest. I don't expect it to be a serious inflation of the type we had in the a serious recession, the type we had in the Great Recession of 2007, 8, 9. I suspect it to be a 2-quarter recession, and 2 quarters is not that serious. So I think the economy will probably slip a bit in that period of time, but I think inflation will come down. The unemployment rate will go up. I suspect the unemployment rate will probably go up to about 4.5% next year, something like that. Congress is not going to do anything. Not that anybody will notice or want Congress to do anything. But, Congress isn't going to spend much money because there's just not a lot of money left to spend. We have $30 trillion of debt in this country. This country, you and I, owe other people $30 trillion. That's a lot of money. And we can't afford to borrow much more.
If you were getting into private equity in 2023, what would be the differences in your strategy in 2023 versus when you began in your career?
Well, when I was starting, inflation was not a factor, and certain things were not available then. Today, I would say a good thing in 2023 would be buy distressed debt. Distressed debt is when you're buying debt that a company that's not doing that well, and you buy it at 50 cents on a dollar, and probably will come back to a dollar if you know what you're doing and it's a good deal. So I would buy a lot of distressed debt. I would look at things that are going to be important in certain areas of the future. One of them would be things like quantum computing. Another thing would be computational biology. Another things would be CRISPR, which is gene splitting. Another kind of area that I think would be good would be healthy food, food that's healthy for you. That's going to be a big trend as well. So I look for things that in the future that are going to be good trends that people want to buy things into, and you get there ahead of them.
Yeah. So for obviously for 2023, you said the outlook is a recession, but in these type of environments, you mentioned some sectors. Are there other sectors that retail investors definitely should be looking at? I know you said maybe indexes, which would start, but are there sectors on the retail side that we should be looking at?
Well, yes. For example, healthcare. When I worked in the White House before you were born, were any of you born in 1977? Any of you alive then? No.
No.
Okay. All right. So I was working for President Carter in the White House. At that time, the GDP of the United States was 7% in the healthcare area, 7%. Today, it's about 22%. So that means we are spending much more money on healthcare because people are wealthier and they want to live longer. And so what they do is they spend money on healthcare, telemedicine, all kinds of pharmaceutical things you can buy. So I think healthcare is going to be one of the great continuous growth sectors in our country. But people outside the United States, they want to live a long time too. So as people get wealthier outside the United States, they want to spend more money on medical treatment, healthcare. And so that's going to be one of the great growth areas, I think, in our country and around the world.
So the name of your new book is How to Invest, Masters of the Craft. So along the lines of that, I definitely want you to talk about the book, but what are some keys to becoming a great investor?
1, do reasonably well in school. 2, keep reading, always read stuff. You never know when it's going to be helpful. 3, be willing to go against the conventional wisdom. 4, surround yourself with smart people. Next, maintain some humility. Next, make sure when you make a mistake, own up to it. Share the credit and be willing to take the blame. And also, I think in the end, if you make a fair amount of money, be philanthropic. I think it's very helpful.
You've done incredibly well in your career. Like, what drives you to continue going, and how many hours a day are you putting into mastering your craft each day?
I am old now. I'm 73 years old. So when Ronald Reagan was 69 and running for election against Jimmy Carter, I told Carter, look, Reagan is so old he can't get out of bed in the morning. He's 69 years old. Now I'm 73, so I'm old. But what motivates me is I want to, I came from very, very modest circumstances. My parents didn't graduate from high school. I was the only child. My father made $7,000 a year. So I wanted to work hard and get somewhere and make something of myself and make my parents proud of what they had produced. So I worked hard, and hard work generally pays off, and I got lucky, a lot of luck. So what motivates me now is to kind of be a role model for other people, but also my own children. I have 3 children, and I don't want them to think that their old man is basically sloughing off and not doing anything and doing, I want them to think I'm doing something productive for the country. And so that's what motivates me.
In your book, How to Invest, you got the opportunity to interview some of the greatest investors in the history of the United States of America. A lot of success stories were told, but I'm interested in seeing what were some of the mistakes that some of these investors made, right? Because we hear the glory stories, but obviously they had to go through some trials and tribulations to get to that point. What are some of the mistakes that you can share?
Well, they all made mistakes. Everybody's made mistakes. Ken Griffin, now one of the greatest investors, now a very wealthy guy. His company almost went bankrupt. His company almost went bankrupt in the Great Recession. The guy that runs the biggest hedge fund of all time and the most successful hedge fund of all time is Ray Dalio. He invested one way when he was early out of business school, and he lost all his money. He had to go to his father to borrow $4,000. He was broke. So, he also made a mistake of punching his boss in the face one time. That's probably not a good idea. People always make mistakes. Warren Buffett made mistakes. They all make mistakes. You just have to pick yourself up off the ground and learn from your mistakes. That's the key. If you find somebody that never made a mistake, you've got to be careful, because that person has too big an ego. And telling people how great you are is not a good thing. There may be some people, presidents of the United States, who tell people how great they are, but generally, I don't think that's a good idea. Can you imagine Abraham Lincoln saying, "I won the Civil War by myself"? No, it wouldn't happen. You want somebody that's humble, and great investors have a certain amount of humility. They've made mistakes, but they've learned from it.
So,
you guys seem like you're in sports as well. You got those tennis shoes behind you. Are you great athletes also? No,
That's subjective.
Definitely love sports. I
love
see the memorabilia in your background as well.
Well, I'm a terrible athlete, but I'll show you this. This is from Coach K. We won the national championship when I was the chairman of the board at Duke. I was sending him plays from him by hand signals. He said that was the key, is those hand signal plays. That's how he won.
Yes.
Coach K, the legend himself. Let me ask you this. 98.5% of asset management firms, which includes private equity, VC, and investment management firms, 98.5% are run by white men. Obviously, a lack of diversity is an understatement. Do you have a problem with that? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, if you read my book, it wasn't 98.5% of the people in the book were white men. So I had a fair number of people who are women and minorities, because I thought it was important to show that while there has been a bias towards white men, and it's been a white male society, it's changing a bit. I don't think it's a great situation. You have this country is going to be a minority white country in my lifetime. Right now, probably the country is about 60%, 58% white. But I suspect if I live long enough, it's going to be less than 50%. And that should be reflected in the investment management and other things. So I put a number of African-American leaders in the book in the investment world. And I've interviewed many others as well. One in the book is a guy named John Rogers. John Rogers built the Ariel Capital, one of the largest African-American owned investment firms in the country. I've interviewed on my TV show Mellody Hobson, who you may know. Mellody Hobson is married to George Lucas, but in her own right, she's built and with Ariel Capital into a really successful investment career. So I think if it's 98.5%, I wouldn't dispute your number, but I would say it's changing.
I have a quick two-parter. What does your day-to-day schedule look like, and who has been your favorite guest on the show over the last few years, and what was the biggest lesson you learned from them?
My favorite guest, well, it's like asking me which of my children is my favorite. I don't ever tell people, but I would say a guest that I thought was really good was Jeff Bezos, because what makes a guest work well is he has a sense of humor, sense of humility, plays along with some jokes I might give. And it's good to do this in front of a live audience, because if you have a live audience, that it makes the interviewee play to the audience a little bit and makes it more interesting. If you're just doing it with nobody in the audience, it sometimes can fall flat and not be as interesting.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos was great. Oprah Winfrey was one of the best. Bill Clinton and George Bush together were really great. I just interviewed not long ago Sam Bankman-Fried, and we discussed a little unusual. I am scheduled to be interviewing soon. I hope to be interviewing very soon Mike Tyson and Alex Rodriguez.
That's gonna
It's gonna be good.
Mike Tyson's gonna
And
be.
I'm going to see whether Mike Tyson, can beat me in an arm wrestling match or something.
You mentioned your children, your 3 children, and obviously you mentioned them as being great guests. I wonder, did they take an interest in your career path as well? I know you wanted to do law because of what your parents said. What was the interest in your kids as you were going through your career?
Well, when I was building my firm, I was running around the world raising money and doing stuff. So they didn't probably know what I was doing when they were younger. They just had no clue. It now turns out that all 3 of my children are in private equity and they have their own funds. So now they call me up and ask me if I can introduce them to an investor or I can help them and analyze a deal. So in that way, it's good. But my kids all were well educated. They went to really good schools, and but I didn't push them to do any of these things. They kind of came to it eventually. I don't know why, but they did.
Yeah. Before we leave, I wanted to ask you this question. What do you personally look for in investments? It could be an investment in a company, investment in stocks. Like, what's important to you to say, okay, I feel comfortable making this?
When we're looking at an investment in a private company, we're looking for a management team that's pretty strong, committed to it. They've got a lot of their own net worth tied up into it. You want to make sure the company has the ability to survive downturns, make sure the capital structure works, make certain it's a product that is likely to be popular in the future, not just now. But in the end, you're looking for the right price. You can have the greatest company in the world, but if you pay too much for it, it's not going to work. So you've got to pay at the right price and make sure that you're not overpaying for these things.
One of the biggest things that I find men have a struggle with is balance. You have any advice for men that are running businesses, but are also trying to have a good, healthy work-life balance, or do you think that's a fallacy?
Well, that's the great conundrum in the world. I mean, can you really build a great business and have a healthy personal life and have a good balance in life? Some people figure it out. Obviously it's not perfect. It's not easy to do. Some of the wealthiest people in the world that you've read about recently, they've divorced. So, you could say that's, maybe because they work so hard. Who knows? I'm divorced because maybe I work so hard. But Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, a lot of entrepreneurs, maybe they put too much time into their business. So a healthy life-work balance is easy to talk about. It's hard to do.
Yeah,
it's very hard to do because you're driven. If you're a driven person, you want to make your company work so well, and you measure your company's and success every day by various metrics. You don't measure how good you're doing your job as a husband or as a wife or as a parent every day. So you can slough off that because you don't have a metric every day. But I think it's not as easy to do as talk about, for sure.
If you can do it again, would you do anything differently?
If I had to do anything differently, what I would do is I wouldn't have gone to law school. Probably I would have gone to business school. That would have been good. Secondly, I wouldn't have spent 4 years in the Carter White House because maybe I would have been better for the country if I didn't do that. And I came out and practiced law for 5 years after I left the White House. That was a waste of my time. But in the end, I probably would have given away more money earlier. I've given away, well over $1 billion in cash to lots of things around the country. And I probably wish I had worked harder, made more money, and given away more and started earlier. But on the whole, I'm 73. When you're 73, you read the obituary pages every day to see who your age is dead. And you guys are too young. You don't read the obituaries, I'm sure. But no doubt you must have known somebody in your life who died when you thought it was earlier than they should have died. So I'm always, thankful I'm still alive and trying to do things that make sure I don't, die prematurely.
Well, you talked about the things that you're looking for when you're analyzing a company. I wonder on a daily basis, the deal flow, how often are you involved, or is it a process before it even gets to you?
Okay. Carlyle is probably investing $10 billion to $12 billion of equity every year. And we're probably doing around the world, 50, 70 deals a year. I sit on the investment committees of many of these things, but I am not doing the deals. So I read the investment committee memos. I give them my thoughts. They generally ignore them, but I give them my thoughts. They can ignore them or not. I have a family office, and they do. My family office does a lot of investments that are smaller than Carlyle's, and you know, I look at what they're doing. But I generally, I don't really have the time to dig into any one deal that much. So I just hire good people and hope that they'll come up with good recommendations. You know, if you keep turning down the recommendations of the people you hired, they're going to quit. So you have to trust them a bit. So I generally trust people and generally don't turn down the recommendations. Though I've made mistakes. I turned down Facebook personally. And when Mark was in college, I turned down, in effect, Amazon when Jeff was just starting the company. So I make a lot of mistakes.
Well, Mr. Rubenstein, it's been a pleasure. Before we leave, anything that you would like to say?
Okay.
Book,
Well,
anything?
Thank you. Thank you all for inviting me. And, you know, I appreciate it. Good day.
All right. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Billionaire conversation.
There you have it. ladies and
God is
gentlemen.
good.
Yeah.
Is there any other? This is historic. Like
That's pretty. It's pretty wild. Yeah.
Novogratz, Cuban, him, and I've been watching this show for years. So thank you for putting it together, because when it came up, I was like, oh, okay, this is
Yeah.
gonna be a legendary situation. So
Market Mondays, you gotta come through Market Mondays.
I was just saying, when the text came through, we were just like, wait, say that this and
him?
that's the name you're talking about? Yeah, that's the name. Okay, yeah, we gotta get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody put it. What's the biggest lesson that you learned tonight from him? I think it was a very interesting debate, but we can't come back to the same lessons of risk, seeing other things that people don't see, research, digging in deep into reading. What was the biggest lesson that you may have taken away from him tonight?
I just like the fact that, you know, kind of things that we have been speaking about have been reiterated by people at the highest level.
Yeah.
So we're talking about managing over $400 billion.
Yeah.
Like, just think about that number. But when we ask what sectors,
Yeah.
it should sound very familiar to me.
Yeah.
What you've been saying, like
Yeah.
healthcare. He was saying
Yes.
it was 7% of the governmental spending. Now it's over 22%. There's money that's going into there, and it's not going to stop. People want to live longer. People want to live healthier.
Yeah.
We've said these things, and so to hear it at this level being reiterated, I think is very profound.
Yeah, I think the part about humility is extremely important.
Yeah.
And that's something that he said several times, actually,
Yeah.
as far as leadership.
Can you tell them why real quick? And I have piggyback to it.
Why he said it, or why I think it's important?
Why you think it's important?
I think it's important because, you know, one thing is that you have to not only manage how the public perceives you, but how internally people perceiving you as well. And like Red Panda Rebellion, the word rebellion is a very strong word, but you don't want a rebellion internally.
Yeah.
And that can happen, easily. That can happen easily when a leader is looked at as a showboat, or a leader is looked at as taking all of the glory. And now you start to have, you know, rebellions happening internally, and that can cause issues. And, you know, that's one of the things, like when you read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People and 48 Laws of Power, they always talk about, you know, always elevating other people and always giving other people praise and different things of that nature, because it's extremely important to kind of stay under the radar. It's extremely important to, you know, not make it feel like you're the only one that's getting the attention, because that leads to jealousy
and envy.
And even if it's not warranted, it's just human nature. Somebody can be jealous and envy. And even if you really do deserve it, it still could lead to jealousy and envy. So he said he was very, you know, big on that as far as, you know, the humility factor. And then I think that's something that's extremely important.
Yeah, I've seen two of the biggest blow-ups in the last maybe 15 years. Sam being one of them, Madoff being one of them. Egotistically, not factoring that someone can defeat you. It was like one whistleblower that finally turned the knob on Madoff that made people listen. Getting into it with CZ was not smart, especially when CZ is a better entrepreneur and smarter. So, and just to say, hey, I'm going to buy your company, and to know that you're down and out in an emotional space, to actually send over the financials. That's the biggest finesse I've ever seen. For a person to turn over the financials with nothing stated. But yeah, I think humility is important. I think sometimes you have to let people know what you're capable of, but it's you don't want to create enemies,
Mhm.
because if you create too many of them, it definitely can lead to a downfall.
And one of the things I realized too is that a leader, a leader never tells anybody to follow him.
Yeah, facts. That's a
Yeah,
fact.
you don't have to.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right? Like people follow you because of your characteristics.
Mhm.
People follow you because of your charisma, because of what you have done, because they're drawn to you. But if you really think about it, like as a great leader, you don't have to tell anybody to follow you.
Yeah.
It happens organically. So when
Yeah.
you have to tell people how great you are, tell people to follow you, then that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Because that means that it's really not there, and you're trying to make up through it insecurities to actually, force people to believe a certain thing that they don't necessarily believe without you saying that.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things, just on an everyday person level, was having that ability to make a transition or a shift, right? Like he went to law school,
Yeah.
and realized, like, what am I doing here? I don't love this. And then took a job in politics, and then that didn't work, and then went back to law school knowing that he didn't love it, and then finally found finance as his passion. So we do that on a. I mean, how many people do that? We're going to school right now.
Yeah.
And we're like, I don't know what I'm doing here, why I'm doing it, but I still am.
And not brave enough to leave.
And not brave enough to leave or pivot or find something that they're passionate about or purposeful about. This is something we spoke to young students about over the weekend. It was that difference between passion and purpose.
Yeah.
And it's very important to realize it, because the same thing I was passionate about at 20, I'm not at 40. It changes, right? But your purpose never changes, because that's what you've been put on earth to do. And so that's interesting. Like even like at his level, right? What am I doing here? I wish I never went to law school.
Yep.
It would have saved me a lot of time.
Yeah.
So a lot of people deal.
That's 9 years he can't get back.
You can't get it back, and financially you can't get it back. And so it's interesting to hear him say it, because there's so many people that do that.
Yeah, and the love for the craft. We saw Cuban talk about it. Mike Novogratz, every big guest who's really steeped in investing, like he's still energetic about it. Like his energy gave me energy, and it made me want to even double down and triple down more. And I mean, he's still grinding as if he doesn't have billions. So I'm like, when people are like, hey, take some time off, I'm like, I feel you. Is that God telling me to take time off?
That was
God's plan. Yeah, but when you love something dearly, it'll be easy for you to put time. That's a great test. Like if it's a chore for you to do it, it's not your thing. Yeah, it should come effortlessly.
All right, so let's move along. Let's talk about some political stuff. So another thing that we have to correct.
Yes.
Last week.
Oh, I was wrong. There was no red wave. Put that in chat. He was wrong.
So yeah,
boy,
a lot of he went on his own. No crystal ball in it.
No.
A lot of people had speculated that it was going to be a shellacking, a red wave.
That was me. I humbly say I was wrong.
And the Dems actually,
they surfed it.
They won. Not only did they won, they kept majority of the Senate.
Yeah.
And there's still 19 races in Congress that's up for grabs. So but even if they lose Congress, they're not going to lose by that much in the House.
The House, yeah.
And they've done it. They did an extremely impressive job. And now the Republicans are pointing fingers at each other. I watched these political shows, so they're blaming Donald Trump. They're saying that it's Trump's fault because he got involved and
partially
he muddied up the waters, and they want him just to go away. Then they're blaming Mitch McConnell. They're saying it's his fault.
Really?
Good old Mitch.
Yeah.
Well, even Mike Pence finally spoke out against Donald Trump for the first time ever.
Interesting. I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
What did he say?
Well, he finally gave his interview about January 6th, obviously, to run on the Capitol, and said that, it was unprofessional. It shouldn't have happened. He waited all that time.
Smart
to
man.
Think about it now. When tomorrow, I believe that they're saying that Donald Trump's going to announce that he's actually going to, run again for president. So it's interesting, man. Like a lot of the people that he supported and the things he supported and the people who didn't believe in the election, they didn't win. Yeah. And so, I mean, people voted in.
I mean, I think it's a good sign when you have that much loss, that much travesty. It's really hard to follow. I mean, people were going for those antics when he won, but when you're losing, it's like Tekashi. Like at one point, Tekashi was winning, and everyone backed him for that one summer. And now it's like, hey, let's steer away. I know he's back out here buying bags and all that, but but I think the Republican Party is seeing that they have lost their way, and they have opportunity because the Democrats need to find a candidate. So I believe that the Republicans are looking at it and saying, if we can find a candidate that is viable, maybe like DeSantis or someone who's better, and we can push him there, maybe we can overcome some of the stuff that we have with Trump.
I think you're right. I think DeSantis is the guy you know, he didn't take any support. He didn't have any support from Trump. He actually spoke up.
Yeah.
Trump
didn't.
him.
Yeah, he doesn't. He didn't support him at all. But he still won the state of Florida. But on the Democratic side, I don't know. I think it helps Joe Biden. I think it helps that, you know, obviously they kept the Senate, and they still could have another seat in the Senate when the runoff in Atlanta is over and done. Atlanta, Georgia, what's going on? But they still could have another seat. Yeah. But that helps because he's obviously the president in place now, and they didn't get beat down like everybody thought.
Yeah.
And so a lot of his views and a lot of things he was saying and campaigning for the people, obviously in Pennsylvania, obviously in Nevada and Arizona, places where they thought it could be a toss-up, but they could lose. They didn't.
Yeah.
And so maybe it helps him and now for a second term.
Well, the thing about it is bringing it back to the economic side of it. As we know, stocks usually go up after midterm elections, especially when there's a split government. And the reason being is because not a lot changes.
Yep.
It's like, all right, we got some security for at least 2 years. It's locked in play.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we know what to expect. Like nothing's going to really change, right? And yeah, it looks like that's going to happen. Split government. It looks like the Republicans will probably have control over the House by a slim margin. The Democrats have control over Congress, Senate, and there's a Democratic president. And then the stock market went up every single day.
Yeah.
Last week.
And if you guys do your research historically, that week in November normally is a positive week. So it was some good signs, some good rallying signs there.
So are we still all right? So this brings back to the question that we asked before. Is this good for the stock? Is the stock market going to be up?
Regardless of what happens, floods, war, hurricanes, political dispersion, the market is always going to be up. The players may change and the sectors may change, but overall, yes.
I mean, up
short term
in the next year.
Oh,
in the next year.
The Dow, S&P, Russell, probably the NASDAQ, yes. S&P and Dow, yes, will be up overall.
Okay. Yeah, I think the analysts have now raised almost all of those indexes. I saw that the number now for the S&P by the end of the year is maybe 4,200.
That may be a stretch. I know I call 4,200. Then I'll be happy if we tap.
If we get to 4,000?
Yeah, if we get 4,000, 4,100.
I mean, we were right there. We were at like 39.92. Yeah. So, I mean, 4,100 would be great to see. I think short term, there's some room for some gains. But we'll see. Obviously, when we were here last week, when we talked about not only the election, but the CPI numbers coming in were important. And obviously we saw that, and David spoke to it about the 7.7 rate of inflation. That helps because it shows that it's tapering down. Was it an overreaction? We saw the best day in the history of the NASDAQ.
But in tandem with the fallout of FTX and FTT.
All those things happened.
So that was a lot of positioning of, hey, you guys were supposed to be the saviors. Now all the hedge funds piled in money and said, okay, this is where, and we have to realize too, when crypto said, hey, we don't want to be tied to the banks, now that's going to be used against them heavily. Now you need more regulation. They're going to go on an entire smear campaign, lobbying campaign against crypto for regulation and for regulatory reasons. But when you're reporting to clients, you can now go to a client and say, hey, there's more safety here while that fell apart. So you have to be very careful, once again, of who you choose to wage war with. Anytime that people say that a monetary system is a liberation tool for the people, it usually isn't, because money is not meant to be a tool of liberation. Money is meant to be a tool of control.
That's a bar.
It's just honest facts.
And those are some of the things, right? Those factors that we need to look at. If we're thinking about 6 to 8 months down the road, what does inflation look like?
Yeah.
Are we having conflicts throughout the world? Ukraine, Russia, is it still happening in 6 to 8 months? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, right? Supply and demand. We just saw today that the president met with the president of China.
Yes.
That was important.
That was needed.
Like when we spoke about it in depth, when we talked about the importance of that relationship. Now it's a baby step, but it's a step.
Yeah.
Right? Taiwan is still a major player.
Yes.
Now, from everything that they saw when they read in the reports, there's no imminent danger just yet as far as the invasion of Taiwan. So that's a positive sign.
Yeah.
So you start to see some of these signs, and do they add up to something that could be positive? In my opinion, I say
yeah.
But we shall monitor.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's interesting because the economy is still kind of a little turbulent.
Yeah.
But the stock market usually turns before the
absolutely. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
So I think we have a shot, but this leads to the next topic. unemployment.
I was just going to say that's
So-
another number that we got.
So yeah, 21,000 tech jobs have been lost so far this month in November, and the month just started. Amazon announced that they're going to be laying off 10,000 people. So the tech is laying off a bunch of people. Twitter, Facebook, Twitter, Meta, Amazon.
I got some. You want the numbers? Amazon 10,000, Meta 11,000. Twitter, the number was at 3,700, but that changed. Disney had a hiring freeze.
Yeah.
Salesforce, another obviously in tech, 1,000. Stripe 1,000. Coinbase over 1,000. Shopify
Stripe is interesting.
over 1,000. Microsoft over 1,000. Snap over 1,000.
What has Google announced yet?
Google hasn't yet. Apple
They will
announced a
soon.
hiring freeze,
Yeah.
which obviously we're not laying off people, but we're not hiring anyone.
Yeah. Outside of R&D.
So the tech companies are interesting because they're laying off the most people, and overall the job market is still relatively decent. We haven't seen mass layoffs in other sectors, but tech is ahead of the curve when it comes to that. And one of the reasons is because of inflation and interest rates, and also, they've had very lavish spending habits. When you look at tech offices, no matter where the office is,
I agree.
they have daycare centers in there, and
Well, they'll call amenities.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I went to LinkedIn's office years ago before we started Earn Your Leisure, and it was amazing in the city. And they told me like the reason why it's so amazing is because they don't want people to leave. Like they want you to be able to come at 8 o'clock and leave at 8 o'clock. And
Yeah.
so they have everything that you need there. But of course, with that is an expense. They've paid pretty handsome salaries to their employees. They spent a lot of money on marketing. And now a lot of those tech companies are, feeling the crunch. So they're the first ones to start to lay people off.
Yeah.
So the fear is that they are the precursor to the larger economy. And now you're going to start to see other sectors, perhaps in the next coming months, start to follow suit and lay people off as well if inflation and interest rates stay high. So what's your thoughts on the unemployment situation?
I agree 1,000%. I always tell anyone that is working, whether you have a job or you're in a business or partnership, you have to know the return that you get. So if you're getting paid $1 and you make someone 5 or make them 11x, you always are going to be able to keep yourself employed. I do want to ask, so when people say that the job market is strong, what sectors are strong? Because I don't think the job market has been strong in the last maybe 3 or 4 years overall.
Well, not strong, but as far as layoffs.
Got you.
We
Okay.
haven't seen mass layoffs like how we have
Yeah.
recently seen in tech. Like there hasn't been like.
I think they're coming. Yeah, I think they're coming.
By sector? So technology leads it. What do you think is the next sector or the next couple sectors where it's like, all right, we see mass layoffs coming from?
Definitely retail
Okay.
and any industries that are low priced, that are cost based. That's one reason I never like doing things based on price. The margins are too thin. So a lot of manufacturing could be in trouble. A lot of retailers will be in trouble. I mean, my dad was telling me the other day, even I think Macy's and other retail stores are now letting people, they're closing on Thanksgiving. Going back to it, because like people don't want to work. And it's like, well, that's one part of it. The other part is they weren't treated well and the pay wasn't comparable to what they should be receiving. So I think we're going to go through like a renaissance era of where people have to be a lot more efficient. Earlier this year and late last year, I was talking about automation, how by 2030, they want to have most of that automated. We're seeing that come to light. And once again, I'm going to stress, we're going to see major corporations try and figure out a way how to run a multi-billion-dollar business with 1,000 employees. Like if Apple's running a $2 trillion cash pile with 7 people, why does the average business need 50 people in it? When most are a liability.
I feel like, isn't that like what Elon's doing at Twitter?
Trying to.
Right? Like let's trim it down.
Yeah. I think you trimmed too fast.
He
cut from the pelvis down.
I mean, day one.
Yeah.
I mean, first day out type.
Yeah.
But you figure you scale down, figure out who is the most talented, and let's go to war with that.
Yeah.
That's the model.
Well, yeah. Well, talking about Elon, he announced that he is overworked. He said that you've seen this?
No, I didn't see this. Tell me more.
Oh yeah. Oh, I gotta play the
Breaking news.
Oh, you didn't see that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I'll play the video. It's actually very interesting, and I want to know, is this like a play? Look,
I have too much work on my plate, that is for sure. I'm really working at the absolute most amount that I can work from morning till night, 7 days a week. So this is not something I'd recommend, frankly. Twitter for sure, I think needs to do a lot more on video. And it's kind of a no-brainer to enable a longer video on Twitter and also enable content creators to make a living with content that they submit to Twitter.
So,
Wow.
So we
he
got
said he's overworked. He's been working day and night, 7 days a week. It's not something that he would recommend.
We would agree.
SpaceX, Tesla, Twitter.
Yeah.
Then he says that Twitter
Hyperloop.
definitely needs to have more videos, more long form videos. So long story short, I feel like he might have bit off more than he could chew.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to kind of get some level of sympathy on the situation.
That verified badge didn't work out very well.
Well, it's a bad idea.
You think so?
It didn't work
Yeah.
very well.
Well, why do you think it's a bad idea?
I'm talking about the Eli Lilly thing,
Okay.
because it's like the idea of being verified means that you are a public figure, right?
Yeah.
And because people need to know this is the real person.
Yeah.
This is the real Ian Dunlap. This is
Yeah.
the real Earn Your Leisure.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous if there is no level of knowing this is real Earn Your Leisure, this is fake Earn Your Leisure.
Yeah.
Because then it's like these people that scam people, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
First day out, they did it.
that's the whole, why do you keep referencing first day out?
I don't know.
Well, why did I upset you?
Yeah.
They said it like 3 times.
Yeah, no, the first day that they let it happen, they bought political figures, names.
I mean, it's a great song. It's one of the greatest.
Oh, you think it's T Grizzly?
What other thing is
Gucci?
Gucci had one too.
Gucci
But T
was
Grizzly
like the
was
original,
hard.
right?
T Grizzly, that's
Got
that
you.
one.
that's
Okay.
the one.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what they did. Like, if I could buy your identity, why wouldn't I for $8?
Well, yeah, and so and how much revenue can $8 a month?
Not a
It's like
lot.
you keep playing these games.
Yeah.
They keep playing stupid games. You get dumb surprise. You get dumb awards. Like, and now he's looking tired. He's like, yo, it's not really working out. And then he got a bunch of debt, and he's laying off employees,
Mhm.
and he's under backlash about the censorship. And he tried to relax the ban, and now people's calling him racist because people like. So it's like I think he might have. He didn't fully think this through.
He said it could go bankrupt.
At $8 with 22.5 million people is 180 million. How much you pay for Twitter?
A lot.
44 billion.
So even if that was 50
Yeah.
months,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, he gonna have to.
I mean, I think the ideation, the pricing was wrong. I don't think they should have sold the verified part. I think they should have did it how Facebook did back in the day, where you have to have like a legit email tied to a work account. And then that would take away some of the noise. I think he bit off, like you said, more than he can chew. He may not even meant to really buy Twitter, but the letter of intent that he sent had some financial backing behind it. And for those you don't know, when you put in a bid for a business with those kind of terms, you kind of have to buy it. You can't just back away because you don't want to. So, and he's running it like a startup, which I kind of like. He's doing the opposite of what Zuckerberg is doing. But he's running it like a startup that no one knows about. So you're throwing ideas at the wall and you have no vetting system, no board. I know they're building a creative council now, but I think some of these things could have been planned through a little bit better. But entrepreneurship is not easy though.
It's a bad company. Like, I feel like Twitter, I won't say bad. It's a middle level company. It's a middle of the road social media app. And
Horace Grant.
I don't see it, huh?
Horace Grant. Even said that.
I don't see it becoming bigger than, the Instagram of the world. Like, it's not as hot and as trendy as TikTok.
Yeah.
It's never going to have as many people on it as Facebook. And like he said, video's a no-brainer, but now you're trying to make it a video platform when it has never been a video platform. It's always been a writing
text-based
thought.
So now you're saying that it's a no-brainer to turn it into video, but all of the other platforms are already video.
Yeah.
So now you're trying to kind of, copy what other platforms are doing. So yeah, I think that he might have not fully thought that part of it through.
Yeah.
And thought that his name alone was just,
That's a hell of a lot of money to spend for a company on the consumer side. Like, that's why I would say debt. I know, and people get on me about it, but like, debt is not good, especially during an economic downturn, to pay that kind of money. Now, if he took it as like a B2B marketing platform, ad platform, maybe like an internal network for Tesla, there's some things that he could do. But when you pay $44 billion for it, and that's what you have to generate to break even, that's tough, man.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's a hole it's hard to dig yourself out of.
That's not a beat.
So, but for all entrepreneurs, for everyone watching, even some of my guys hit me today, like, man, you back in New York? I'm like, this is what it takes. I wish I could just sit in the house and not shake hands and kiss, but like even like we were supposed to do something last week, it got canceled last minute. So even when I cancel Stock Club call, you know they get on me. How you cancel? I'm like, I flew out here and it got canceled the day before and had to come right back out here and make it canceled the day before. And I'm praying, like, dear Lord, please forgive me. For real, I've been cursed. I've been praying. I've been having no pineapple juice or Ciroc. Lord, please let this interview go through. But this is a part of business. Like that tired look that he has, that is an entrepreneur that is executing at a high level. Everyone who's selling you on working 2 to 3 hours a day and going to the beach and, you know, everybody polygamous now. That is an Instagram lifestyle, yo. It takes this Dave. Super rich, super wealthy, doesn't have to work. You can see he's in his office grinding.
Yep.
You know, y'all had a meeting earlier today. Y'all got some stuff to, we ain't gonna say what, right? But I never hit you and be like, what you doing? You're like, nothing. I'm seeing more cameras. I like the way you put this light out. You know, so we got the little triangle effect. Every time we go somewhere, hand master, a human, all right, this is what it takes. And if you want to be rich, you want to be wealthy, you want to be free, you are going to have to sacrifice some 7-day weeks.
Freedom.
That's a fact.
Freedom.
All right. Eli Lilly, speaking about Twitter, there was a fake tweet that came out from an unauthorized Eli Lilly account, which caused the stock to drop last week.
Yeah.
Forgot how much market value they lost, but they lost a lot of money and market cap.
Yeah.
So
I think people made a bigger deal about that than they should have, though.
okay. So what's the deal with that?
That's your company.
Yeah, it's one. I mean, trust me, they let me know on Twitter. Hey, what happened to your baby? I'm like, it only went down 4%. They were falling before then, so that's the part I want to tell people. Like, people were starting to sell off. There were a couple positions that were starting to be short against it, and Eli Lilly had been running at such a high ticker. It was time for it to come down. Did it have an effect? Yes. The story was they tweeted out insulin is going to be free, and then I was going to say Bernie Sanders came out and said insulin should be free for all. Why do they pay this price for it? And I'm like, I understand that.
Insulin, what is insulin used for?
Diabetes. Okay. Yeah, so he was saying that Eli Lilly charged too much for it. I think that's neither here nor there because I think all medicine is written up too much. But insulin will never be free. Most medical products, pharma products will never be free. Absolutely. And it's one of the last viable sectors that we have in the United States that we dominate. We don't have many of those anymore. So I think like remember back in the day when the Nike Colin Kaepernick debacle happened and the stock dropped and it was like, well, it was because of Colin. I'm like, Nike stock was dropping a little bit before then. Mm-hmm. They put the emphasis, he was the reason. I think this is the same. Like this was not a primary catalyst for why Lilly fell. It was just like one of the tail. And then from there, it bounced up. So Lilly is still one of my favorites. I mean, if I thought it was going to fall apart over a tweet, but I do think that is why it is dangerous. That anyone can just verify instantly. Yeah.
So speaking about Nike, what is your thoughts on this Kyrie Irving situation?
Shout out to my guy.
With Nike, it looks like they're not going to renew his contract. Looks like he'll be dropped from Nike.
That's been in the works for a while.
Phill Knight got on. He was on TNBC and said that they don't think that they're going to renew. Pretty much, they're not going to happen. Yeah, I don't see it happening.
I'll just add my 2 cents to it.
Yeah,
I think it's so crazy. There's a lot to unpack about this Kyrie Irving situation. Mm-hmm. And I see you got Kanye's album. Was that done intentionally?
No. I was just.
You see the Adidas and Balenciaga collab?
Oh yeah. They had that, but that was already happening. That was
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was already happening.
Okay.
They moved the middleman out of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This Kyrie situation is interesting on so many different levels. But for Phill Knight, who's obviously he's a very intelligent person, and he's one of the most successful people ever.
Yes.
He has one of the greatest companies of all time. Mm-hmm. But it's just crazy that he can go on national television and say Kyrie said something that crossed the line. He actually didn't say anything.
True.
And that lets me know one or two things. Obviously, Phill Knight is old. So
nothing against the older demographic.
No, sure. But either he's not being received, like that lets me know that he didn't even really understand what's going on. He's probably being received, they're giving him information, or he might be receiving his information from news or Twitter or whoever, or his internal team or whatever. But it's like, that's kind of crazy that somebody that powerful and that successful
Mhm.
can be so uninformed
Mhm.
when speaking about his own company. Like he's tremendously uninformed. It's not even about whether they want to drop him or not. That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But the fact that he said something that crossed the line when he didn't actually say anything.
Well, he said something at the
I think
practice.
the problem was he wouldn't say what they wanted him to say.
No, but
He didn't say anything.
No, he didn't say anything.
That's what I'm saying.
The problem is that he
did
shared the link, right? And then they asked him, "Are you
He
anti-Semitic?"
didn't share a link. He posted it in his story.
Post, share, whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's kind of like sharing it. But bottom line is that's what this whole situation is about.
You're in the mood today with the jacket. Hey, clap it up and put yes in chat if you like Shawty's jacket.
Like if I put like, yo, watch this, or I put the
Yeah.
link to it, that's different.
No, it's sharing it
Yeah.
though. Like if I put a link to this YouTube video
Yeah.
in my story, I'm sharing it.
Right, but he put a picture.
You should have put a link up to that video you sent to
I
the.
put a link also.
Yeah. Oh,
Not
did it?
what I saw.
I think he put a link. All right, but
Okay,
either way. That's what this whole thing is about.
Yeah.
He never made any statement other than like not answering questions
Mhm.
because they asked him questions and he just kind of avoided the questions and never really answered it. He's
Mhm.
never actually spoken other than his apology, which that's the crazy part about it too. He actually apologized and nobody has ever talked about that apology. A lot of people probably don't even know he actually did apologize. It's a
Yeah.
whole thing on Instagram with like 4 paragraphs that he actually apologized.
Mhm.
And that just kind of got swept under the rug. And they're like, they didn't even accept his apology. They're like, no, this is what you have to do to get back into the league. That's crazy within itself.
Ridiculous.
But the fact that they said that he said something, he didn't say anything, it just leads you to understand how dangerous this climate of social media is because narratives can get changed and shaped so quickly that you can start believing things that never even happened. And like I said, this is somebody, it's not just a regular person, this is the CEO of Nike. And he's believing a narrative, or even if he didn't believe it, he's repeating a narrative.
Can we
that
be fair? No.
never even happened.
But I mean, yes, all that's true. But this is not the same level of response from all the companies, but Nike had the same stance when he wouldn't take the vaccine. Right? Before this even happened,
Yeah.
before the season started, they told him that they wasn't going to bring him back.
No,
Just
they
because.
was going to drop him regardless.
Regardless.
Yeah.
And they have a right to even say we're going to drop you because we don't like what you did. That's their right as
Yeah.
a company. But what I'm saying is that to speak and just be so misinformed in the conversation
Right.
is dangerous.
Well, if we're going to be fair, has Phill Knight been more egregious than Stephen A. Smith? Now, I love Stephen A. But Stephen A. has been waging a war against Kyrie for the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh yeah,
Yes, he has.
Stephen A. That's a personal situation that he has against Kyrie, and a lot of people, it seems like in media, have personal issues against Kyrie, for whatever reason.
Well, I don't know why, but I mean, I'm very fond of Kyrie. Very good person. I don't think he's represented it correctly in the media.
Mhm.
And even like when we went to his house in the summer, like when I asked him like how did, because even when we get the attacks, I'm like, man, the other part that people don't see, like it's hurtful to get attacked. So I'm like, how are you dealing with it? And he was like, I'm still dealing with it now. That was the vaccine thing.
Mhm.
So imagine going through this another season on another issue. And we have to be very honest, like Kyrie is a leader because if you look at the number of people that he stopped from taking that vaccine, it probably cost Pfizer $4 or $5 billion last year by him taking a stand on it. So I think, and to be very honest with the Nike situation, Nike has been trying to move Kyrie out of that deal so they can put Ja Morant in that seat.
Well, and I don't even think it's about replacing it. I just think that
It is.
Because he's still a viable player, but they can't control him.
But can you make the next 8 years on him, or would you rather do it on Ja?
Well, the thing about Nike is that they'll give lifetime contracts. Like they've always had athletes for long periods of time. Even when the athlete's career has gone down, they still have stayed with athletes, and they get new athletes. They're not really pinching penny.
Mm-mm.
Like they
pinched out Penny out them phones.
Well, when his career was over.
No, they still was making this sneaker though.
Yeah, they
still making this sneaker right now.
Yeah, they still have.
He's still getting his royalties.
I don't know how much royalties he's getting.
Because I've heard some.
He's definitely one of their top shoes that are selling. He's probably in the top 10 for them.
I think when Kanye said they can't control me, that was his most recent. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't want to talk about that.
So he said that they can't control him, and He's right. But I think that Kyrie kind of fits in that bucket where it's like, all right, after a while, corporate, they're like, all right, this is too unpredictable. He might not play because of the vaccine. He might not play because he shares a link and then he gets suspended and, he got to go through all of that. He might just,
While every player didn't have a vaccine.
a lot of players didn't get vaccinated.
Like
But even like him not playing, like right
Yeah.
now, like why is he not playing right now?
The Nets suspended him.
The owners allegedly said that this
Yeah.
still has work to do. I'm like,
Yeah.
Well, they listed 5 things that he needs
which
to
is
do to come back.
ridiculous in itself.
Well, that's a whole different conversation.
Like,
Yeah.
But the
he
bottom
be playing right now.
line is
Yeah.
that Phill Knight was uninformed. That's my take on it. Phill Knight, that's disappointing that you made a statement and what you said just wasn't true. And it's just so crazy that somebody at that level can just say something that is completely false. And like I said, that just goes to show you. I can say anything enough. If you say anything enough, somebody's going to believe it. Somebody's going to believe it without even doing any research. There's no level of research done anymore.
Oh, well, I know that for a fact. Like, I just found out like 8 months ago, people wasn't watching the whole show. They was watching clips. I'm like, for real?
Yeah.
I'll see why y'all think I'm crazy. Okay. Like, if you don't get things in context,
Yeah.
and then you can wage a war via media and perception, I get it. Yeah. So people are not doing the proper research.
They're not doing their homework.
At all. Very rare.
Context is key.
Shout out to those of you who do. And for those of you who want more homework and want more gains, get your tickets to Market Mondays
Okay.
live in Madison Square.
Please.
Apparently, it is going to be the show of the year, is what they're
Yes.
saying.
Time will be had.
That is the talk of the town. That is the talk of New York City.
Yeah.
Anticipation is built.
Big announcement. Hold on, let me see if we got this message back. If we got the okay. Because if we got the
Anticipation is building.
oh man. But yeah, much love to Kyrie. He's a good person. Like I will say that. Like, love Kai dearly. Good person, good father. And the interesting thing, when I was with him this summer, he's like his dad was a bond trader. And for one of the biggest firms. So like his level of knowledge, I know they try, and even like I'll say this, like Skip and Stephen A try and frame him as like being some like fake intellectual. Kyrie is very intelligent. So the layers of intellect that he has in a bunch of different areas, I won't say too much. Wise person, man. I just hate to see
intellectual, but he's admittedly saying that he's still learning.
we all are.
Which is the point I wanted to get to, was like, yeah, we all should still be learning. He is still exploring, he's still discovering. And yeah, maybe he'll speak and not be fully, but that's part of the process of growing and learning and educating yourself. And he's just doing it at a high level on the world stage. So yeah, prayers up for Kyle.
My biggest question for the people in our industry that become martyrs, and that's what I always said, like, I love Dick Gregory, one of my hugest inspirations, love Tupac, but are they going to become martyrs for no reason? Because we always say that we want people to stand up for the culture, and then we have somebody do it, and we watch them die.
Of course.
And won't defend them.
Of course, they're gonna be modest for no reason because nobody's gonna jump in the fire with you.
Yep.
That's one thing I learned early on, is that nobody's going, and this is why I like the Kanye situation, no matter what he's saying, even if it has some level of relevancy to it, nobody's gonna take that mission with you.
Yep.
It's a kamikaze mission, and you're gonna just go on that mission by yourself.
Yeah.
Because nobody's gonna boycott Nike.
Facts.
They can still buy Nike. They're still gonna buy Jordans when
Even with the Yeezys, if they go grab Travis or 2 other people and they go grab Virgil's understudy, people gonna be back. And like I said, now because they own, like, for everyone who said this was Kanye's plan, is not. Like, I wish I can call somebody, shout out to
You think people still gonna buy Yeezy?
let Travis be behind him. Virgil's understudy.
I don't think it'll be Travis. It'll probably be somebody else.
Travis, it'll be his own sneakers, but Travis is with Nike, right? But I mean,
the right amount of money, a
I'm saying,
move
like,
that
the fact that they saying that we own the rights.
They find the right person
has been made. We own the colorways going forward. You think people still support it?
Absolutely.
I think that I shout out to Dame Dash. I spoke to Dame the other day. I think that Kanye has a tremendous opportunity to rebound. But I think he has to get on good solid ground first.
Define what good solid ground is.
Mentally.
Gotcha.
Are you on the side that people still support the Adidas version of this Yeezy?
Can I be honest?
Hold on, let me just see what's
Go ahead.
You think?
No, not like how they did. I mean, of course, there's gonna be some people just buy bootleg polo because it's $50 instead of $180. But the level that
What's that Polo Association?
the level that it was associated with before. No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
If we're gonna be honest, the culture, like the streets, are a myth. We're seeing it in real time. Like, I know, and I'm from East Chicago, Indiana. I first heard through the wire, Power 92, driving to South Lake Mall, when Kanye was not even thought of as having the potential to be a top 15 rapper in Chicago. So to become what he became is legendary. I think people, if they find the right person, they'll turn around and support him, because we love to see a person fall apart and then laugh at them. Sometimes we like a comeback story.
Mm-hmm.
More often than not, we like to see a person fall from grace to make ourselves feel better about where we are and not putting in the work that they did to get there. If they find the right collection of people buy them Yeezys. Watch, the people gonna buy them Adidas and Balenciaga collabs that look like garbage.
Well, yeah, they buy that because the Balenciaga collaboration. They're gonna buy that just because.
The Balenciaga they're gonna buy.
Yeah, they're gonna buy that. But I don't know. We'll see. But
They're gonna buy the Yeezys.
I just don't see that people buying Yeezys without Yeezy, especially if he has an alternative, if he has his own brand.
We saw what happened with Penny. They don't even call Penny Hardaway, like the foams, and when I grew up, were Penny Hardaways.
But they would never call them. They were always phone posits. They would never call it.
Not when I got them out of East Bay in 1997.
1,000%.
We can make a wager. Let's make a wager.
It'd be like if Michael Jordan left Nike and they still would.
People still buy the J's.
You got to understand, there's a whole culture of
nobody supported Jumpman.
Well, exactly. That's the whole point.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So like what you just said is the point, right? Like people won't support the Jumpman shoe, right?
Because they feel like it's a knockoff.
Exactly.
Even though that wasn't even a knockoff.
That was really him. Yeah, he had more ownership in that.
And
I think Kanye.
We don't support us.
Kanye got two things working for him in this situation: sneaker culture, which they're like real like
diehards, and
they know like, oh, this is the fake. This is the 138.79 Travis Scott.
Don't do that to us. Man. Don't do that to us.
So
if they Trav
is not. That's the night. He's not leaving.
Nah, but so
450 million. He won't leave.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
exactly. Game over.
So, but
and if they go get Aubrey and a collection of other people,
Aubrey has
Drake not
he can't design.
He done said F Adidas too.
But Drake's never moved product.
No,
he's never moved product, and he's tried to.
Music.
That's
his product.
Not,
that's a good point.
He's never moved product.
He's not going.
That's a good point.
It's not gonna happen. But Kanye got a loyal cult following.
I don't think so.
No, yeah, they're loyal enough to know that if this product is not him, if he's not endorsing this, is this not, obviously everybody knows the situation.
Mm-hmm.
His presence is strong enough for people to say we're not doing.
Is that cult bigger than Ari? And can we? Oh man, I want to have a real conversation.
You don't think Kanye is following?
Not bigger than Ari Emanuel.
His following, not
his following is not bigger than the power of Ari Emanuel.
Did you see him this morning, Ari Emanuel? He was on CNBC.
What happened?
It was interesting the way that they talked to him. It was just an interesting back and forth. It felt like almost borderline disrespectful.
There's so much I want to say, but I can't.
95% of people don't even know who Ari Emanuel is.
The people who run the world, most people don't know.
I'm saying power or following. There's two different things. Kanye has numbers. He has way more numbers.
Ari can cut that. He proved it.
But that's what but he's still relevant. He's still relevant. Kanye can come out right now and come on, earn your leisure if he's interested.
Been trying. Reaching up. Now we're gonna have an honest conversation. Been talking to people at Donda, people behind the scenes. Shout out Rhyme Fest. Shout out people who really been rocking. But he doesn't want a black stamp. This is Ian Dunlap saying this. Now we want to have a real conversation. He doesn't want to stand there. Like, okay, even with Dame, why the fuck ain't Kanye standing next to Dame more than he has the last 9 years when Dame picked him? Now, I'm going to be real, coming from the Midwest.
I can't speak on their relationship.
Dame was the only one who was stamping Kanye.
They still have a relationship.
He still ain't gave Beanie his money.
Well, that's not going to happen. Beanie probably the maddest out of anybody. He's probably madder than anybody.
Come on, man. Like you ruined that school for the kids, but going back, and also I can't say who, but it goes back to not knowing who you can go to war with. The person who started the campaign to get him canceled was in his inner circle / family. Yeah, be careful. Gotta be careful who you go to war with. That's the biggest lesson. That like I'll say my stuff, but I'll pick people I know I can win against.
And don't go to war until your money's right. Tupac said that.
Absolutely.
Tupac said that. Don't go to war until your money's right. Well, we will monitor the situation.
That's your new favorite. Listen, Kanye.
We will monitor the situation. We will see what happened with Kyrie Irving. We will see what happened with Kanye West. And we will see what happens with Dave Chappelle. He's under some fire.
What happened with Dave?
He
just
hosted Saturday Night
Saturday Night
Live.
Live.
Do you see his opening monologue?
The
No, I did not
watch it.
Anti-Defamation League has said that he has popularized anti-Semitism.
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 Yep.
Got you.
So they, I guess he made a couple of jokes that I didn't think that they were offensive. I mean, it's comic. He's a comic, so
Yeah.
But
It's a great opening monologue.
But yeah, so he's under some pressure.
Listen, I'm still making my tech rounds. Meta, Square, Wells Fargo, Citadel. These comments and Chappelle are not reflective of what Ian thinks. I'm being 1,000 with you. Cut my checks first. But there's certain people you can't go against. That's why I say to me, the culture is fake. I think we have silos in our community. We don't have they're still going to support Nike, still going to support Adidas.
Nike will be selling out. They're not going to cancel Nike. They couldn't cancel.
They're still going to wear them Yeezys.
If they couldn't cancel Gucci after wearing blackface.
No, we were supposed to cancel Gucci and they wouldn't have got Gucci Mane.
I think Gucci Mane was
He
around
was already-
before.
He's talking about
as an ambassador?
to endorse it.
Boy,
Yeah.
parade of my boy. And I ain't mad at him for going to get the bag.
Well, they got that. Well, Dapper Dan's opinion was that we should have never even tried to cancel Gucci.
You got to be inside the infrastructure to really understand what's happening.
Yeah.
To really learn.
So
how to take over.
we don't even make up enough to even try to cancel Gucci.
Yeah.
That's true. And I agree the same with Adidas, same with even people was like, hey, they lost all this money when they dropped Kanye. That's 1% of revenue. 1%. That means nothing. And if you know the origin of Adidas and Puma,
that's kind of what Dave was speaking about.
Adidas dead though. I don't think nobody's rocking Adidas like that. Outside of Kanye, I ain't really been enthusiastic. They always had good tracksuits. They have very good tracksuits.
They gonna find another rapper like they did with Run DMC.
They have good soccer. They have good soccer.
All right. Beyonce show.
Here's okay. If we're gonna be
like once every 3 years.
I hate she's a person that they still have. They still have obviously a bunch of NBA players. Soccer is going to be big for them still. They got some other athletes. They got musicians. Pharrell is still over there. So
yeah, but nobody moved the needle.
Okay,
nobody's got.
If you have an attorney that signs over, and it's for all entrepreneurs, never let anybody have power of attorney over your stuff. If they have the rights to his shoe and all of his designs, and I was saying this 5 weeks ago, they have the rights to use his likeness while branding the shoe. That's why he had to legally change his name to Ye from Kanye West to get out of the deals. This is a Prince situation all over again.
Yeah.
Now go do your Googles and go do your research. So if he can, and I said it before, he can't make beanies, cups. We were talking about this in the text. Home furnishings. The only thing he can really do is like commercial real estate and build cities. Consumer side, there's nothing he can build for 7 years. So if he signed away his rights, which I'm telling you he did, they also have rights to his likeness and image to run in perpetuity for those 7 years to
for the products that he made while with them.
Yes. And all derivative works.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We will see what happens with Kanye. We'll see what happens with Adidas. And we'll see what happens with Kyrie and Nike.
Kyrie be good.
Yeah.
Kyrie be good. Kyrie I'm worried about. I mean, Kanye I'm worried about. Or excuse me. Yeah.
All right. Well,
folks,
I made that call for Ye. Shout out to Nicole to get. He said the same thing that Sam said to Chamath. He told Jamie Dimon F off. Huh? Crazy world, man.
Folks.
He said it's up. It's up.
That money gonna be down.
It's up.
My boy.
It's up.
Way up.
Different.
Can't do nothing. Folks, we want to let you know about a great choice. If you're looking to bank or invest, Ally is a leading digital financial service company with passionate customer service, innovative financial solutions, and our relentlessly focused on doing it right for both customers and our communities. Get with Ally so you can save, invest, and spend on the things that matter most to you. For everything
Yes.
in life, we're better off with an ally.
Yes.
Shout out to
Don't make
Phil Knight.
enemies, make allies.
Yes, make allies.
December, what, 2nd?
December
3rd.
3rd, Miami.
Yes, ally and United Nations.
We got to talk about today. Today's date is November 14th.
Yes.
It is my brother Vincent's birthday.
Hey,
Happy birthday
my brother.
to
You're
a
amazing.
one-of-a-kind human being.
Mhm.
And if you've ever met Bam, you know exactly what I mean. This dude is he's the life of a party. He
Yes.
is just a generous soul, man. So I want to wish my brother a happy birthday. It's been a crazy year of ups and downs, but more ups and downs. So I want to wish you a happy and blessed birthday and many more, my brother. Happy birthday.
He's a
sir.
great soul,
You
great person,
know, everybody over here.
full of energy, full of life, man. Yeah, we should all be more like Bam. Every time I see him, legendary. And I did not tell you to get suspended for 6 months for taking your shirt off.
He is definitely.
I did not say that.
definitely
Mike,
facing suspension. Yes.
look, I'm campaigning. If we're gonna vouch for Kanye, we definitely vouch for Bam. He didn't do nothing but take his shirt off. Pablo.
We got some other stuff. We
Waving
have to
like a
overlook.
helicopter.
Hey, Petey Pop.
Shout out to Bam. Happy birthday. Enjoy it for sure. And happy belated birthday to AB. His birthday was yesterday.
Yes. And EYL Doom.
Oh yeah,
Brother Doom.
yeah,
Happy
yeah.
birthday.
Shout out
Happy
to him.
birthday to Doom for sure.
Yeah.
Market Mondays live, Madison Square Garden. Get your tickets.
3 months of stock club. 1 year sniper. 25 stocks to invest in, 50 to stay away from. If I've made you money, please put yes in chat. And you have the slides from the presentation that night. Peter Tuckman, Troy Rashad.
Don Peebles.
Yes.
Man, Jadakiss.
Yeah. Mouse Jones. Such
Yes.
Sus One. Special surprises.
Yeah.
few of them.
Ebro, you sliding through still or no? Let me put some pressure on you. Shout out to Ebro. He's a good dude.
Nah, it's gonna be lit, man. Get your tickets now. Don't wait, don't hesitate, don't play yourself. Please. All right. It's been eventful. Check out Earn Your Leisure tomorrow. Very educational episode on politics. Extremely important for us to know the political process, not during voting season, but during all times of the year, because politics is 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Important that we are educated. And yeah, that's where we're at.
Wait, any assets over liabilities show this week?
Yes,
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you,
it's
thank
a
you.
big one. It's a big one.
Ari. Shout out to our girl,
Ari the Don.
Hey,
Ari Fletcher. She's in the cosmetic business.
really?
Yeah, she just dropped the cosmetic lines, which has went crazy, sold out the first day I saw. So, a lot of money has been made in cosmetic industry. That's what made Rihanna a billionaire. That's what made Kylie Jenner a billionaire. So, she's getting into cosmetics. She's very passionate about the cosmetic industry. So that was a dope conversation, man. She's a very, fun person. Super like down to earth, super, just a real good person.
Dope.
Yeah.
She's dope. And her following is
She got
crazy.
The level of support that she has.
She got a high.
I don't even know what to call them. Since we put out the fact that when we put out the picture that we doing the episode.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's been, when is the Ari episode? When is the Ari episode? The Ari episode is tonight.
They've been asking for that. Shout out to Ari, man. So that episode is out tonight on television on Revolt. Shout out to our Revolt family. Shout out to Batavio Dion. And on YouTube, their YouTube channel on Wednesday at 5 o'clock. So check it out on Wednesday at 5, and then check it out on television.
And Drewski dropping gems too.
Shout out to
Drewski. That was fun.
Drewski, did you see had mimicked him during the press conference, Zion Williamson?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he mimicked him. He mimicked him during the press conference.
That's funny.
So shout out to Drewski. He's doing his thing right now. So get into it too.
Yeah, he's a smart dude, super talented, and has figured out the business side of comedy.
Yeah,
which a lot of people,
he's cooking.
It's tough for them to transition from that device that they hold to the stage, and he's got it. He's one of the ones. Big announcement for EYL University too. We're in the process of revamping the whole structure. Stay tuned. It's called Stay Tuned Alert. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be laying out some information.
Stock Club call tomorrow at 9:30. Get your tickets for Market Mondays Live. Cannot wait to see you guys there.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for rocking with us. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace. Good, y'all.